Hello, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire Studio at Phocuswright Europe, and I am joined by Badr El-Badr from Rehlat, founded in 2016 as an online travel company originally based in Kuwait. You are the CEO. So give us a sense now of the scope of your company.
Sure. It's changed a bit since pre-COVID 2019 and now, depending on where the pockets of demand are. But the biggest segment of our business is in flights, and we operate primarily in the Middle East. So Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. We're now expanding into the rest of the GCC countries, so Oman, Qatar, and Bahrain. We're also looking towards North Africa, so
Okay.
Egypt all the way to Morocco. We're in whatever Middle Eastern country is stable, that's where we want to be. And we're expanding right now we started expanding last year into hotels, and that's doing pretty well for us as well.
Interesting. So talk to me, first of all, a bit about what you've seen in relation to demand and travel trends.
Right. So I don't really keep in touch with the exact numbers. But it looks like demand in the Middle East, at least, is very similar to, or even maybe higher, I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing any issues in demand compared to 2019.
Okay.
And it honestly just depends on our own marketing spend. We're seeing a lot of demand. It's not very different from what it was in 2019 and before then. But demand seems like it's very, very healthy right now.
And so the work that you're doing around hotels, you're doing outreach and bringing hotels into the system, and is there technology integration? I mean, what?
Right, yeah. So hotels as a platform is widely different from that of flights. I'm still very weak in my own knowledge aspect, so the team is always teaching me every day. But like you said, in the past year or so, we've signed up a couple thousand hotels in the UAE and Saudi and a few of the other GCC countries. And those are directly contracted hotels on our extranet. But there's still a lot of work that we're doing towards integrating the right channel managers. There are a lot of unique channel managers in the Middle East. And otherwise it works like it does in other regions in the world. But yeah, we're still getting that technology stack built. But it's doing pretty well. We've also introduced alternative accommodation,
Okay.
which we call chalets in Kuwait, and the demand for that is doing really well, and we're hoping to expand that into the rest of the GCC.
Interesting. So who are your main competitors then? I mean, what other OTAs are big in that space there?
Right. So the other two, let's say two or three guys that we actually always look at are Al Musafir, which is part of the Seer group. They're based in Saudi, but they have a regional footprint. Then you have, and they're spread out into a bunch of different, let's say, verticals: car rental, hotel. They own hotels and so on. Then you have the Clear Trip Flying Group.
Yes.
They were recently acquired by Wigo,
Yes.
At least their Middle Eastern arm. Although Wigo is a meta search brand, I mean, we still believe that we compete with them for eyeballs. Now that they combined with Clear Trip and Flying, that makes a very clear. I love them, but they're still very clear competitors. So we believe that those are our two main competitors in the Middle East.
Okay. And so as you are expanding and you are offering new products and things, you're dealing with different forms of currencies and languages and all of this as well on your platform?
Yes, we do. And it becomes sort of difficult, especially when you get to the more exotic currencies like the Egyptian pound. That's fluctuated a bit over the past year, which has has presented us with a couple of challenges. But yes, you have to have multiple. It's not so much about the currencies, which there are multiple, but it's more about the payment gateways and payment methods that people prefer, and having local licenses to be able to accept them, and then having local bank accounts. So that's a bit of let's say a maze to wade through, but it used to be a lot more difficult if you're talking about 5-6 years ago. Now it's a lot easier, it's a lot more accessible to a lot more people. So that has been less of a challenge recently. North Africa, though, is more of a challenge. They do have international transfer limits,
Okay.
and even online payment limits. So that's presenting more of a challenge. It's looking like it was 6-7 years ago in the GCC. So that's a new challenge that we're looking at right now.
And what about one of the things we hear quite a lot about, particularly coming through the pandemic, is efforts to build more self-service tools and use chatbots and make everything seamless and contactless and all of this. Is that something that is there's a lot of interest for in your region?
Yes. So at least speaking internally, we've spent almost a year and a half right now, I think, building out our own self-service tools. So, and that was honestly more towards keeping us lean. So as we scale, we didn't want to just have a massive organization, that just where costs just kept creeping up. So we did a lot of internal work, automating refunds, full refunds, partial refunds, date changes, reissues, and all that stuff. And we've done a pretty decent job at it. The accuracy is pretty good. I think a couple months ago, we went live with our self-help tool for a portion of it. And the other portion is still, handled by our call center agents, but it's all automated where, any guy that has no fights experience can come on the job, and within a week, he's canceling tickets, changing dates, and all that, just using, a very easy tool that anybody can go in and just use. So we've spent a little more than a year just working on that, and it's been doing pretty well for us.
I'm curious. Another issue that, of course, we've heard about in regions all over the world are staffing challenges. Is that something that you're facing as well, or is
we've faced some of it with our operations staff.
Yeah.
People that are trained on the GDS and so on. But thankfully, with this tool that I just explained prior, it's presenting less of a challenge now, because we don't have to focus on people that are specific to the fights industry.
Okay.
You can bring in any layman.
Yeah.
And then within a week he's able to use the tool, and then things are normal. So
yeah.
The other challenge we've seen is because of the rise of e-commerce throughout the pandemic. Developers are a little hard to come by, so we're trying to get a little more creative. And thankfully, the ways we're moving around that, it seems like they're working out. So that's okay for now.
And so I guess I would just ask, as we finish up, what are your 1 or 2 priorities for the coming year? Like, what's at the very top of your to-do list?
Right. It's honestly, it hasn't really changed from 2019. It's always been about growth and having a sustainable channel mix. Okay. So thankfully, we hit the ground running right after COVID, where the growth has continued after 2019. And it seems like things are hitting on all cylinders. So I think in 2022 and 3, we're going to see even better numbers than 2019, with an even broader channel mix than what we had back then.
Okay, very interesting. Well, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us to
Absolutely.
talk.
Thank you.